ready to dive deep.
Always.
Today, it's all about tension and suspense in fiction. We've got some awesome material from this writing coach, Daniel Germain.
Sounds right up our alley.
And the cool thing is, even if you don't, write yourself, this stuff's like super relevant to how we experience, honestly, any story. I mean, think about it.
No.
Books, movies, even just listening to a friend tell a crazy story about their day. It's all about how it's told.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what keeps us on the edge of our seats. Why do we binge watch a show or stay up all night reading?
I know, right?
It's that anticipation that what's going to happen next.
Totally.
It digs into our psychology, right? Like we get emotionally invested. We start predicting what's going to happen.
And then
when the tension finally breaks.
Yes.
Satisfying.
So satisfying. Okay, so Germain actually makes this distinction between tension and suspense. And honestly, it's a bit of a game changer once you see it.
Interesting.
So he says tension is that, like, immediate unease, that feeling that something's about to go down right now.
Oh, okay.
While suspense is more like a slow burn, less about that sudden shock and more about that, like, lingering anticipation, the waiting, the wondering.
Yeah, I get it. Like, it's that difference between a jump scare and a horror movie.
Yeah.
Instant tension.
Right.
Right? And, like, waiting for medical test results. Totally different.
Oh, so different. But both get your heart racing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so how do they actually, like, build these feelings in a story?
Right.
Germain, he lays out some pretty smart techniques.
Yeah.
For tension, he talks about, like, raising the stakes, using short sentences, really leveraging the setting, and just keeping the conflict going strong, even in the small moments.
Yeah, it's wild how much this stuff connects to, like, how our brains work. Like our psychology. It is, right? Take short sentences, for example.
Okay, yeah.
It might seem like a small thing.
Right.
But when you're reading and you hit those rapid-fire sentences.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it mimics your heart racing.
Yeah.
You get pulled right into that character's urgency.
Whoa. Okay, that's so cool. Do you have a favorite example of that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so picture this. A character running for their life. The author could write, like, their breath hitched as they sprinted through the dark alley, each ragged inhale echoing the pounding of their pursuer's footsteps. But to, like, really turn up the tension, short sentences. He ran. Footsteps pounded. Closer, closer. He stumbled, gasping.
You can feel it.
Right.
You can feel it. Short sentences, big impact.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about building suspense?
Suspense, okay.
What's Germain's take on that one?
So he's big on unanswered questions.
Yeah.
Those mysteries that keep you guessing.
Yeah, yeah.
Then there's, like, multiple perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Foreshadowing, dropping little hints, and, of course, that slow burn we talked about before.
Okay, so many good ones, but I feel like that multiple perspectives thing is, like,
oh, yeah,
really interesting.
It's fascinating because think about it. So much of the suspense in our own lives comes from not knowing everything. Like, we only see things from our own viewpoint.
Right.
But in a story, we get to peek into what other characters are thinking and doing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's where the real magic happens, right?
Yeah.
Dramatic irony, we know stuff the main character doesn't.
It's so good.
He amps up the suspense like crazy.
Okay. Starting to really see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Does Germain give any examples of stories that, like...
Oh, yeah. He's got some great ones.
Really nail tension and suspense.
Okay, so for, like, pure nail-biting tension, he points to that T-Rex scene in Jurassic Park.
Oh, man, I can already hear the music, see the rain.
Right.
Oh, it's so good.
Spielberg, he's a master of this stuff.
Yes.
Builds tension with the setting, like that immediacy, even the sound. Pouring rain, darkness, those broken down cars.
And then
those low roars
Yeah.
getting closer.
It's so good.
Like a sensory overload.
Yeah.
Keeps you hooked.
And then for suspense, I bet he goes for a good mystery, right?
Yeah, you know it. Agatha Christie's. And then there were none.
Oh, a classic.
So good, right? That closed setting.
Yep.
The dwindling number of suspects.
Oh, my God.
Every time someone dies,
Yeah.
the tension just keeps ratcheting up.
You're trying to solve it before it's too late.
Keeps you guessing all the way through.
Okay, so these examples are making it all click. But can a story have both, like high tension and suspense? Or are they more like separate tools?
Well, they can totally work together.
Yeah.
Like hand in hand. And Germain actually uses Gone Girl for this.
Okay, yeah.
On the surface, it seems like just a straightforward thriller.
Right.
But there's this
yeah.
incredible web of suspense throughout.
Yeah, I remember that book. You have that immediate tension of Amy disappearing. But then, as the story unfolds, it peels back the layers of their marriage.
And you're left wondering,
like, wait, what's real? Who do I trust? It messed with my head.
It's so good. Masterclass in keeping the reader off balance, using both tension and suspense to craft this truly gripping experience.
Okay, now I want to go back and reread all those stories. But before we get too lost in all the brilliance, I know Germain also mentions some potential pitfalls, right? Things writers should watch out for.
Definitely. He warns against, overdoing the action. It can get exhausting for the reader,
Okay.
And going overboard with red herrings. Those misleading clues, they can be more frustrating than intriguing.
So it's like walking a tightrope.
It's all about balance.
Yeah.
Respecting the audience, giving them the thrills, the surprises, but also giving them space to, breathe, process what's happening. A good story, just like a good deep dive, needs to be paced well.
Totally. That's a great point. Okay, so we've talked about the techniques, the examples of the potential pitfalls, but what does all of this actually mean for the rest of us, the non-writers out there? Why should we care?
Because understanding how this stuff works, it can make you a more, insightful reader or viewer, You start to see how writers are playing with your emotions. And you can really appreciate the artistry.
Oh, totally. It's like learning the secret behind a magic trick. It doesn't ruin the magic, but you see it in a new light.
Exactly. And I'd even argue it can help you in real life, Like when you're feeling anxious or uncertain about something, recognizing the tension, the suspense, it can actually help you manage those feelings.
So we can, by understanding how storytelling works, we can be more aware of our own emotions and reactions.
Totally.
Both in fiction and in real life. That's so cool.
It really is. It's this reminder that stories are they're a reflection of us. They help us make sense of the world, the good and the bad.
And that's something worth paying attention to.
Absolutely.
It's kind of crazy how much, our own psychology is tied up in all of this.
It really is.
We've been talking about these techniques for writers, but they're tapping into something deeper,
Yeah, it's like writers have figured out this secret code for our emotions, And the more you understand it, the more you appreciate how they, pull it off.
Yeah.
Craft these amazing stories.
So speaking of emotions, we talked about that slow burn technique for suspense earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people might think suspense is all about fast-paced action,
Right.
adrenaline.
Yeah.
But Germain seems to be saying that slowing things down can actually be
absolutely
tough.
It's think about a scene where a character finds a mysterious package.
Okay, yeah.
The writer could just have them rip it open right away.
Right.
But where's the fun in that? Instead, they describe the character's hesitation, the weight of the box, those weird symbols, maybe there's no return address.
Ooh.
All these little things building up that anticipation.
Yeah.
Because we're just, dying to know what's inside, what's going to happen.
It's like that saying, the silence before the storm.
Exactly.
Sometimes the waiting is
the worst.
The worst part. And that's what makes those moments
so powerful.
Oh, so powerful.
Because we fill in the blanks ourselves, right? Our imaginations run wild.
Oh, totally.
And that can be way scarier or more exciting than anything the writer could just tell us directly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot here, the techniques, the examples, the danger zones. But I'm curious, beyond being a smarter reader or viewer, are there other benefits to knowing this stuff?
I think one of the biggest takeaways is that it can actually help us navigate those feelings of tension and suspense in our own lives.
Ooh, okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
We all have those moments where we're unsure, anxious about something. But by recognizing, the elements at play, the unanswered questions, the potential consequences, the waiting. We start to understand our own emotions better.
So it's not just about analyzing stories. It's about being more self-aware in general.
100%. It's about realizing that those same psychological things that drive a great story are also at work in our everyday lives.
So if we understand those mechanisms, maybe we can have more control over how we react.
I think so. And that's pretty empowering.
Wow, I never thought about it that way. That's pretty powerful.
It is. And it highlights that stories aren't just entertainment, you know? They're a way for us to explore and understand what it means to be human. They're a safe place to face our fears, work through tough emotions, and hopefully come out with more empathy and understanding.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's time for us to start wrapping up this deep dive.
Yeah.
But I don't want to leave our listeners hanging without, like, a solid takeaway.
Right.
What would you say are, like, the one or two most important things to remember about tension and suspense?
Well, first off, got to remember that tension and suspense, they're the engines driving a truly captivating story. They're what keep us hooked, keep us turning those pages, keep us on the edge of our seats.
And while those two terms often go together, they are different things.
Right.
Tension is that, like, immediate, oh my God, something's about to happen feeling. While suspense is more of a slow burn, that lingering anticipation of, like, what might happen.
Exactly. And we've learned that writers have all these tools they can use to create those feelings.
So many tools, yeah.
Raising the stakes, using those short sentences to create urgency, building suspense through unanswered questions, foreshadowing, and that delicious slow burn.
And we even got to see those techniques in action.
Oh, yeah. Some amazing examples.
Like the T-Rex scene in Jurassic Park.
Classic.
The whodunit and then there were none.
It was so good.
And the super twisty Gone Girl.
Gone Girl.
But maybe the most important thing we learned today, and the one that really stuck with me, is that understanding these techniques doesn't just make you a more informed reader or viewer. It can help you deal with the ups and downs of real life.
Absolutely.
Because let's face it, life can be pretty suspenseful.
No kidding.
And knowing how those feelings are created, both in fiction and reality, can give us a sense of, like, control over how we react.
It's empowering.
Yeah.
And I think that's a pretty amazing realization.
It's funny, you know, we started talking about tension and suspense as, like, tools for writers, but it's so much bigger than that. They're, like, essential to how we experience, well, everything.
Totally. The world, stories.
Yeah.
And the more we get it, the more we can, like, appreciate the power of a good story. How it connects with us, moves us, helps us make sense of things.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with something to, like, think about. Something to maybe spark your own exploration of tension and suspense.
I like it.
So we talked about examples from books and movies, right? But think about the stories you come across in your own life.
Okay.
The talks you have, the news you read, even like a sporting event or a concert, you know?
Interesting.
How do they use tension and suspense? What really stands out to you?
Yeah. Think about it.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
Head over to our website or socials, share some examples. What are some of your favorite, like, edge-of-your-seat moments? What makes them so good?
Good question.
Because at the end of the day, this deep dive, it isn't just about, you know, breaking down the techniques.
Yeah.
It's about, like, starting a conversation.
Absolutely.
About encouraging you to, like, really think about the stories all around you.
Be present.
So until next time, keep those pages turning, those screens glowing, and those ears tuned in to the power of a great story.
Can't wait.
And never underestimate the thrill of a good cliffhanger.